Hey everybody, this is Mr. Horton with a series of video backup lessons for Studio Art 1, Studio Art 2, and film appreciation and cinematography. Verni Arts, Iona Prep. So this is the project backup for the first project grade for Studio Art 1, which is name tag. Again, the steps of this project, step 1 is going to be you're going to pick what part of your name you are going to draw. So that could be your first name or your last name. It could be a nickname, initials. It does not have to be legible. If you are picking your last name and your last name has something like 18 letters, make sure that you are allocating enough space on the page for the name. You do not want to spend 2 hours drawing 5 letters only to realize you have an inch left of page. And you guys usually do that thing where you shrink the letters off into nothingness. It never looks good. Please allocate enough space. Number 2, figure out the orientation of your page. Are you doing it horizontal? Are you doing it vertical? Are you doing it diagonal? Are you drawing this backwards? Remember, I don't have to be able to read the letters. Which feeds into step 3, be creative. This is an ambiguous thing to say, and this goes across all projects really in this class, but please try to think outside the box. Don't just deliver me something stale that you think is just going to get you a grade for this project. Please try to think sideways with this. Now, on to 4 examples of how to do the name tag project. Again, you do not have to abide by these 4 examples. If you can think of one that is outside of these 4, bubble lettering, cursive, block lettering, substitution. Please try to do whatever. Again, be creative. Bubble lettering consists of balloons, curves, colors. It's easy, but it looks boring. Say I was doing my initials, which are MH, in bubble lettering. I'm not doing any angles. I'm doing all curves. And it just looks like this. So say this is kind of plain. So say you do the thing where you make one of the letters into a balloon, okay, and then with the coloring you do the thing where each letter has that curvy eye for the light reflection on them. And then say when you go to color them, you gradate the coloring, meaning you start dark at the top of each letter. So I'm going to go through the M here to show you here. So just going to go across. I'm going to do this dark. And then the middle section, I'm going to half relieve pressure on my hand. And I'm going to color that in a little bit better. And then on the bottom, I'm going to half that pressure again. So it looks like a beveled shape going through. Now at this point, if you're still stuck on what to do, maybe you do the stereotypical thing again where we make this look a little bit more like graffiti. Maybe you fully color this in. Maybe I make one section of this melting off. And you wouldn't be doing this with a marker, so I could erase these lines and make these look a little bit better. But say this is like melted, okay? Say you do the thing where the background is a cloud pattern. Maybe do the thing where you draw in a spray can and it's like spraying onto the letters. Maybe the background, instead of it being just flat background, maybe you do this in pencil and maybe you do brick pattern throughout the whole thing. Brick, 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 brick. Okay? And see, this is a more solid idea, but again, in general, bubble lettering can be a little bit boring. Here's some examples of bubble lettering. For cursive, it's flowy, dynamic, but it always looks plain. All right, so for cursive, you're just going to write your name, whatever name you pick, in script. I might go back in, and one of the ways I like explaining this is, imagine you were riding the line that I drew, like as if it was a roller coaster. And try to imagine where gravity would be pulling you as you were going around some of these corners. Now start a second line, and you kind of just have to fabricate the motion getting pulled off as if you were on that line. So I'm going to pull myself off like that. And I could color in this in-between area. Okay, and there we have that. But again, at this point, this still kind of looks kind of plain. So maybe now I go in with a pencil. Maybe I do something weird, like maybe I draw in and make this a sheet of loose leaf. I'm just trying to be somewhat creative with this. Okay? Maybe, again, we're not going to cover this until we do hands, but maybe I draw in, maybe like I kind of loosely draw in a hand. That's a solid idea right there. That's a good start. And then maybe I could do like equations down here, like fake equations and stuff like that. But yeah, there's the cursive one. So number 3, block lettering. Block lettering usually looks good. I wouldn't say it's necessarily easy depending on how many curves in the letters you're using. It can be boring if you don't play with the scale of the letters. Now, in order to do block lettering, you have to have the ability to draw a couple shapes. You have to have the ability to draw a rectangle, a square, a circle, a triangle sometimes, okay? But basically, these are your kind of 4 shapes that you kind of need to do any block letter. So, for example, if I was doing a capital E, I would do a vertical rectangle. I would do a horizontal rectangle connected to that. I would do another horizontal rectangle connected to that at the bottom, so top and bottom. So now right now it looks like a C. And then I would do a block in the center. Then I would take an eraser and I would erase my connective point. In general, the more curves a letter has, the harder it is to do. So try to avoid curves. If you're skittish on doing the block lettering, do all your letters in hard angle as opposed to curves. So for example, an S. An S is basically just a backward Z. So I'm gonna go like this. So actually, I'll just show you the whole thing. So I'll make a block, and then I'm gonna do a line, and I'm gonna do a line, and then I'm gonna do a diagonal, and I'm gonna do a diagonal. You can kind of see the S right there. If you want to do more of a curvy S, and again, harder, all right, you have to do a circle, another circle, so you're making a figure 8, and then you're literally making an 8. So you're doing 2 more circles inside. You're doing 2 diagonals. There's going to be a diagonal on the upper circle at 2 o'clock. There's going to be a diagonal on the lower circle at about the 40 mark of o'clock. Okay, and then I'm going to, I can show you best with a Sharpie. If I start with the 2 diagonals, I'm going to start inner circle, and then once I touch the outer circle of the bottom one, I'm going to transfer to that and touch the bottom diagonal. Same thing, so the bottom diagonal, I'm going to go into the inner circle. Once I touch the outer circle, the upper one, I'm going to go around that and touch there. Now you can see the S. And I'm going to just erase through my line. You can mix and match. You could have some letters be curvy. You could have some letters be right angles. Okay. I'm going to find every change in direction on a letter. So the letter E, capital E in block, I think it has 12 changes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to go to every change in direction, and I'm going to go do a diagonal line that is a certain length, and it's going in a certain direction that I'm picking. I'm going to go to every change in direction, do that same exact line from that same exact direction, not change it. So I'm going to do here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. Now, very simple. Why am I not going at these other points? It's because if I were to put the line in here, it would be inside of the block, meaning it would be behind the block. The positive space of the block itself is blocking said line, so I have no reason to do it. It is technically there. It's just you don't see it through the positive space of the block. And then the last step is I'm just going to connect these lines. And look, you have a block lettering there. I'm going to quickly go through these next 2. You're mimicking the front shape of the S for right here. So I'm just going to redraw the front shape and join it. And then down here, I'm going to redraw this shape and join it. I know that's a little bit complicated. That's why that's why curves are hard with block lettering. All right, so here are some examples of the alphabet using block lettering. Number 4, object substitution. This is the best way to do this project. You can use everything I just explained to you put together. I recommend doing this method because, again, this is the one that's going to foster the most creativity from you guys. So here for substitution, I'm showing you 2 examples of how to do this. I have an S and I have an H. So for the S, when you substitute things, you look up an object that looks like the letter in question. You draw the object instead that forms the letter. So say it's an S, I can draw a picture of maybe a snake. Maybe I draw a baseball. And then maybe it's like flying through the air like that. So you can see examples, like just find an object, looks like the letter. Now for an H, if you can't find an object that looks exactly like the thing in question, you can maybe draw a couple things and overlay them together and make them form the object that way. So for the H, again, let's say that let's say maybe I'm like into swords. Maybe over here I'm into baseball. Okay. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe I just use some like nonsensical like and there we go. So there's an H. But it's not one object that's an H, it's numerous objects that make up the H. I mean, you could play with these. You could do single objects or numerous objects and build an entire name out of that. Okay, so remember, to repeat, you guys do not have to make these legible. So if I can't read your name in the objects, that's fine. Okay, I'm more concerned with you being creative, you filling up the space, and it looking colorful and finished. This should take you at least 3 classes to finish this. Okay, here's some student examples from last year of Intro to Art. So this first one, this kid did a straight up graffiti project with gradation. You'll notice he started in the foreground letters with it being dark in the bottom and then light at the top. And then the background outline, he did dark at the top, light at the bottom. So he reversed it, which is colored really cool. Okay. Next one, this kid used sports team logos. This is really common for you guys. Next kid, this kid did just like random objects for the letters. This spells Gavin. You can really see the Gavin, so Gavin. Okay. This kid did alphabet soup. It's worked out fine. It was a good idea. Okay. Brady, he actually could draw pretty well. So I was perfectly okay with him not coloring this, because if he had colored this one, it actually would have made it look worse, because if you notice, he actually shaded a little bit. So if you can draw really well and you hate coloring, you don't have to do it. But for the most part, the majority of people in this class should be coloring everything they do, because it's going to make your pictures look better. Okay. Last one, Ravello. This is like such a stereotypical one, but it's clean, okay, and it's colored well, all right? So if you're going to go this boring route, doing the letters like this, you could do it. Just try to play with the color a little bit. Try to play with the background a little bit, okay? If you have any questions about the assignment, email me or refer to the project on Google Classroom. See you in class.